I think it's an absolute tragedy that the Taoiseach didn't call an election in November, because with every passing day this government is becoming an even bigger joke, ramming through legislation to give an illusion of dealing with issues and probably leaving behind you an utter legacy of disaster. Now, not only is it reprehensible that this bill doesn't provide an end to direct provision, that it doesn't deal with the human rights violations which continue, but it actually facilitates a process of keeping people in direct provision and speeding them up at deportation at the end of it. And the fact that so many organisations that gave of their time to this process are objecting to it should be a wake-up call to you. The fact that the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, your own watchdog, is saying that this bill should not be passed without amendments dealing with the crucial issues around the rights of the child. And not only that, but the key organisations at the coalface are saying the bill should be withdrawn. Now, you convened a working group engaging stakeholders in pre-legislative scrutiny on this bill, and you've basically ignored everything they've said. These recommendations were fully costed. They were agreed by consensus over 8 months of deliberations with members of all relevant government departments, NGOs, the UNHCR and experts in the field of asylum and refugee law. So why have what they said been ignored? I just don't get it. Now, there's a hell of a lot more to direct provision than just how fast applications are processed through it. We know the conditions in these facilities have been roundly condemned by many of the people who have been forced to live in them. We also know, but actually we don't know, the full price of what it's costing the taxpayer, because when people asked you, Minister, what the price was, you weren't able to tell the House because of fear of competitive scrutiny, that it wasn't in the public interest and so on. But we do know, and the public is very interested, that many of these private companies which run these outlets are making a very nice, tidy profit out of the facility. One company which owns a centre that is so awful that the refugees called it Guantanamo Bay, we know made $2.5 million in operating profit in 2014. Now, as other deputies have said, the government have refused a range of amendments in the Seanad which would have improved this bill, and that alone, presumably you're going to do the same in this House, is a reason for why it shouldn't go any further. We're talking about people whose lives have been decimated in their own country, people whose testimony is like the following. I left Rwanda 20 years ago. I was a refugee in the Congo. I was not in a wheelchair in the Congo. I was shot and tortured and became paralysed. Or another, in the last incident that led me to leave Zimbabwe and come here, we were taken to a farm. We were tortured to the extent that I was unconscious. I have scars and bruises all over my body. We were beaten. I left for my own safety. It is an absolute disgrace, the conditions that these people are on. And we have to say, one of the key reasons why people seek asylum is war. And we are complicit in that situation by continuing to allow Seanad Airport be used by the US military. 33 million refugees displaced by war.
Deputy,
Minister, that is utterly linked with this.
Would you move the adjournment?
I will. I move for the adjournment. Minister, the point I was making before we broke up is that we can't forget our complicity in creating the conditions that make people asylum seekers in the first place, a complicity that, to my mind, makes this bill and how it's been handled even more unforgivable. There are currently 60 million people all over the world who are displaced. That's 1 in every 122 people worldwide. And Ireland, thanks to what Dr. Tom Clonan has described as the virtual forward airbase of the US military that lies in Shannon Airport, has had a significant part to play in that displacement. That's just a fact. We've done nothing about it. We facilitate war. We facilitate the movement of weapons to places like Saudi Arabia. We have play a central role in all of this, and then we turn around to the people who are the victims of that and offer them this appalling travesty of a bill that's before us today.